Before we even get into today's episode, I just want to say something I've been thinking about.
Okay.
Because people ask me all the time, or I've been asked this so many times over the years. That's maybe the correct thing to say.
Hmm.
How can you be happy after everything you've been through? Or why aren't you bitter? Or even how do you manage to find joy again after all that? As if I'm supposed to walk around like a bitter widow a sad person for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Your favorite word? Bitter widow?
Yes. Yoo-hoo.
Um, True. I mean, why do we say those things? Maybe people ask more like, how do you find happiness again?
Yeah, maybe. Um, I mean, I get why they ask because grief can feel like it takes away everything from you. But that's exactly why I wanted to talk about happiness today, because the two are connected in ways people don't always see. Because I didn't wake up one day feeling healed. I practice gratitude even when it feels ridiculous. I pay attention to the small things, and joy kind of slowly showed up again. And now, how can I not be happy? I have my health, I have my kids, my friends, my family, and I have love and so much to be grateful for. So today I want to start with a question for you.
Okay.
When were you last happy? Like really happy, the kind that fills your whole body?
Hmm. Straight to it today, I guess.
Mm. That is today's topic. We agreed on happiness, so I figured it was only fair to start with you.
Okay. I guess that is fair enough. And yes, you are right. I did know that the topic was happiness, but I guess I wasn't ready for you to throw that question at me right away.
Well, that's
So,
the whole point, catching you off guard.
mhm.
Because happiness isn't always simple, right? It's not easy to define and clearly not easy to answer on the spot. We talk about it like it's something everyone should just have or feel, but sometimes it's so much more complicated than that.
Yeah, it really is. And I think I actually need a minute to think.
Hmm.
I mean, other than, of course, the obvious birth of my kids. Well, not the birth itself, because that was very painful, but after, when you get them in your arms. And I feel like I should also say my wedding day, just so that my husband doesn't feel left out. But honestly, the last time I felt truly happy, just let me think about it for a little bit so I can have a good answer.
For sure.
I think maybe that's the thing with us grown-ups, though, that we make it too complicated. We overthink everything. Kids have it so much easier. I feel like they can give you an answer right away because they are more spontaneous. They feel things, they show it. So they would probably answer you instantly. But that might also be something that we feel is a smaller thing because as we get older, we start searching for happiness. I think we just analyze things and suddenly it's not obvious anymore when we're actually feeling the happiness.
Mm.
Sometimes you only realize you were happy when you look back at it, and other times you chase it so hard that it slips through your fingers, if that makes sense. It's strange, really.
Yeah, that's a good point. And just think about it, the fact that when were you last happy is a difficult question to
Mhm.
answer. That says something, I think.
Totally. It's actually kind of weird when you think about it. But maybe that's exactly why it's so important to talk about it, which is why we chose this topic today.
Because some days, honestly, it's really hard to find meaning or happiness. I think everyone can relate to that on some level. And from my personal perspective, living with uncertainty for years, or really anyone going through something heavy, it becomes its own kind of side effect, maybe this lack of joy, and maybe also the shift in what happiness even looks like. I mean, when you're in the middle of big life changing things, constantly on edge, always bracing for the next shock, it can be so hard to notice beauty and joy in everyday life. And we have to be honest about that. Life can be incredibly hard sometimes for all of us, I think.
It really can.
But still, every single day, you have to make that conscious choice to look for the small moments of joy and hold on to them, because that's where hope comes in, I think.
Good point. I think so too.
And honestly, it helps so much when you're surrounded by supportive, positive people, good people. That's also key, I think.
For sure. And I feel like you're lucky there. Well, we both are. We have good people around us, luckily.
Mm.
But I feel like I have to give a shout out to your boyfriend here. I mean, both of you really, because his mindset, even with illness, I mean, with his cancer now and with so much uncertainty, he is so positive and strong. He's truly a role model. I mean, he never complains, but he has all the reasons to. Yeah.
Mm.
And so I think that we've all learned something from watching how he handles things. And I mean, also your husband was like that. He was so inspiring, I must say.
Mm. That's true. Thank you. I mean, he or they are, were, I don't know what to say now.
I know, right?
They both are remarkable. And,
Hmm.
no doubt. And as you say, he is a true role model for all of us, inspirational. And that, of course, is very helpful for me now with everything. I also don't want to sugarcoat this whole happiness topic. It's not easy, it's an ongoing effort and struggle, also, trying to find light when life feels really dark. But happiness isn't just about smiles and sunshine and easygoing life. Sometimes it's about learning to notice it even when life is heavy, because I believe happiness and joy is crucial for everyone.
So today we're talking about what we think happiness actually is, if it can even be defined, what it means to us, how it changes over time, and why it can be so hard to find and also hold on to, especially after trauma or grief.
Yeah. So grab a coffee, take a drive, or go for a walk with us, and let's talk about happiness. So, first of all, let's try to establish what happiness really is, if we can, because we talk about it like we all know what it is or means. But do we really?
Yeah, do we really? I mean, if you ask 10 people what happiness means, you'll probably get 10 different answers. For some, it's a feeling. For others, it's more like a state of being or even a choice or connected to an experience.
Right. It's kind of hard to define what happiness really is, isn't it? It isn't constant and it isn't one specific thing or one specific feeling. We all have different reasons to be happy and different views on what it means, I guess I can say. I mean, we are all so different.
Yeah, we are. Recently, when I tried to find something regarding this very topic, I read some research that actually backs this up because study shows that happiness isn't just about what happens to us, but about how we interpret what happens. So, I mean,
Yeah, there you go. It's not the moment, it's the meaning. Two people can face the same challenge, but one sees a setback while the other sees an opportunity. And that interpretation is maybe also what shapes their happiness. I think that makes total sense.
I think that's a really important nuance. I mean, there isn't one single universal answer to what happiness is there?
No, there isn't. There is no clear answer. But there is this famous study from Harvard that gets pretty close. It's actually one of the longest running studies in history, more than 80 years now. Can you believe it? I think it's about 83 or 84 years and still going.
Yeah. That is a long time. And in this study, they followed people throughout their whole lives to figure out what actually makes them or us happy.
Yeah, it's called the Harvard Study of Adult Development. And it started back in the late 1930s, and they've tracked people ever since. Their work, their health, their ups and downs, and even followed their children later on. It's really quite incredible that it's still going.
Mm.
And what they found was so simple, yet so powerful, I feel like. Because it wasn't money or success or fame that gives us a happy life. It was relationships. The people who had strong, close connections with friends, family, partners, or even their community, they lived longer, healthier, and happier lives. So there you go.
Hmm. That is amazing and somehow comforting too.
It really is. Because I think it reminds us that happiness isn't something far away or unreachable. It's often right in front of us and the people we care about, the people we love. So maybe
Mm.
that's a small reminder for everyone listening right now. Nurture your connections, call a friend, send that message, hug someone a little tighter today, give that compliment, say hi to a stranger, because that, more than anything, is what builds a happy life.
And that's pretty simple. Or, I mean, it's easy to do, isn't it?
Mm.
It's something that we can all do. Plus, it's kind of comforting because it means happiness isn't something that you have to chase out there in new things or new adventures. It's already right there in the people around us. Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. I think it's something we all really know deep down, but it can still be tricky because happiness isn't constant, as we said. I mean, you can be content and grateful for what you have and what you do, but still feel sad or stressed at times. And it can be hard to notice happiness in that state.
I can see that. And happiness can be so many things also, big and small. And maybe we need both.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
I found that psychologists often talk about the difference between hedonic happiness, which is about pleasure and joy in the moment, and eudaimonic happiness, which is about meaning and purpose.
Hmm.
So it's kind of big and small. See?
I love that distinction. Like you said, big and small, if we can use those terms, where small is hedonic happiness. Maybe we can say that's eating ice cream on a sunny day. And big is eudaimonic happiness, when you know or feel that you're living a life that actually matters to you. It feels bigger somehow. It's the kind of happiness that grows and changes as we do, maybe, as life happens and we go through things, experience life.
Hmm. Maybe also like the younger people or kids have hedonic happiness or feel hedonic happiness more. And as you get older and yeah, things happen, maybe that's when the eudaimonic, or that's when we are looking for or feeling a eudaimonic happiness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Because as we get older, the balance changes because when we were younger, happiness was all about excitement, new experiences, achievements, adventures. Like that ice cream you said on a sunny day, or that party you were looking forward to when you're in your 20s, maybe. But now, as an adult, it's more about feeling at peace, having connections, and feeling grounded.
Mm.
So, yeah, you can definitely say it's bigger in a way, eudaimonic happiness, or broader. It's less of a rush and more of a steady feeling, kind of.
Mm. And maybe that's why it's so important to address too, so that we are aware of the different stages of life, or to actually notice how it changes. Because if we keep chasing that same kind of high we did in our 20s, we'll probably end up feeling like something's always missing, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And we also have to remember that happiness can't really exist without contrast. It's like happiness and sadness are two sides of the same coin. They highlight each other. You kind of need the darker days to really appreciate the good ones. Isn't that a fact also?
I mean, totally. I love that you said that. I found research showing that people who've gone through adversity often reports higher levels of life satisfaction later, because they learn to appreciate the small things more deeply. And I've really noticed that in my own life after everything that's happened. So the contrast is a huge part of it, definitely.
So, in a strange way, the things that break us a little might also make us more capable of feeling happiness, or maybe just help us find or see different things to be happy about.
Hmm.
It makes total sense in a way, right?
Yeah, totally. As I said, I think that contrast is actually a huge part of what happiness is, or you need the contrast to feel joy in a way. And honestly, I find that kind of beautiful. The idea that happiness isn't about avoiding pain at all, but about letting joy and sadness exist side by side. They sort of shape each other. One makes the other more visible, maybe even more meaningful.
Hmm. Yeah, because life doesn't really give us one without the other, sadly.
Hmm.
You can be right in the middle of something really hard and still have these small moments that feel light or even joyful. Or, as you say, when you go through something hard, you appreciate joy and happiness even more when it does come.
Hmm.
But I think you have to be able to, in a way, to notice this. Maybe that is the key thing here.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think it's a choice you have to make, as you say, to allow yourself to feel joy and happiness. And I think the older I get, and the more of those life contrasts I've lived through, the more I realize that happiness isn't this perfect, shiny state we imagine when we were younger, maybe. It's usually mixed with other things, calmness, gratitude, relief, and honestly, sometimes even tears. I mean, happy tears. I've had quite a few of those the last years, when we get this positive messages after the chemos.
Hmm,
And there's always some tears of joy.
of course. And that is so true, though. That makes sense. The good tears, tears of joy, those feel better than the other tears.
Yeah, for sure.
But as you say, it's not all laughter and sunshine. Sometimes it could be that quiet, peaceful feeling, even when things around you aren't perfect. And I actually think it is exactly that, the feeling of inner peace and calm.
Yeah, I totally can relate to that. I mean, those little flashes that remind you you're still alive, still capable of feeling deeply. I think those moments often come because of the hard times. They open your eyes in a way nothing else does. And, I've said this so many times before, but I really noticed that change in myself after everything that has happened. The things that used to feel important or the things I thought would make me happy, they've completely shifted in a way. It's like you start seeing life through different eyes or through a different pair of glasses, if you will.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's like your whole lens changes, I can imagine. The world looks the same, but what stands out to you isn't the same anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Like I said, your whole sense of happiness kind of changes. I used to think happiness meant having everything under control, life running smoothly, no big problems, no chaos, happy kids, happy husband, maybe a new sofa or a nice handbag. And that sounds so superficial now, but you know what I mean? That whole happy wife, happy life kind of thing. But
Yeah.
grief, it sort of rearranges everything. It forces you to slow down and see what actually matters, the small things you used to overlook, maybe, like being in nature, listening to music, real connection with people, and just the quiet moments. I always appreciated these things, but in a slightly different way.
Yeah, that's so true. I feel like I've seen that change in you for sure. And I guess it's like your system reset somehow. You
Hmm.
started valuing moments instead of milestones or nice handbags, like you said. Though I must say, a nice handbag does make me a bit happy.
Yeah.
The superficial sister. Actually, shopping in general makes me or gives me an instant feeling of happiness just walking around the store. I don't even have to buy anything, to be honest.
Sure thing. Buying something new or something you maybe have wished for a long time, that can absolutely make you happy for sure. I think we are talking hedonic happiness then, right? Kind of short-lived happiness, maybe.
See, I guess so, but that's important too, right?
That's exactly what I mean, how it shifts. I used to love buying new stuff and wishing or wanting this or that. And of course, I sometimes do that still. But now I can get this deep feeling of happiness of the simplest things, things that before would have felt completely ordinary, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
And the more superficial stuff doesn't matter as much.
I can see that. And I know it's not the most important thing in life for sure, but it can give some sort of happy feeling then and there.
I agree. And it is an important point, and we don't have to be so freaking deep all the time either. It can absolutely give some sort of happiness. Of course, it can.
Yeah. It's just two different kinds of happiness. Like when we're talking about kids and adults, shopping for me, hedonic, like you said. Um,
Yeah,
but then if I really think about it, when you gave me the question in the beginning, that is, something a little bit more deeper.
for
So
sure. Yeah, I get it.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, then give me some examples of what happiness can be for you then.
Okay, so I'm going to sound a bit deep and poetic now, but right now, just watching my boyfriend have a day without pain, to watch him smile or relax, or just having a quiet day without any chaos. These moments suddenly mean everything. Just the ordinary small things. That is my happiness nowadays.
And that's totally understandable. And it's actually amazing how perspective shifts like that during hard times.
Mm,
Because, like I said, of course, getting a nice handbag doesn't mean anything in these moments.
no, but then again, doesn't have to be. This is my life and yeah.
And I guess
Mm.
that's one of the few positive side effects of grief and hard times, really, that it strips life down to what really matters.
Yeah, exactly. You stop chasing the big things and start appreciating the simple ones. Maybe that's an easy way to put it, but it's not about lowering the bar. It's more about realizing that real happiness was always there, really. We just didn't slow down enough to notice it, maybe. And grief and hard times have this strange way of pulling you right into the present moment because that's really all you can handle.
Is it like grief gives you this kind of emotional X-ray vision, you think?
Yeah, maybe you can say it like that. Hmm.
That you suddenly start seeing straight through all the noise and all the things that used to feel urgent and important just fade away.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
don't matter in the same way anymore.
Yeah, that's such a good way to put it. It's almost like you wake up from this illusion that happiness is tied to success or having the perfect life or all the nice things, when in reality, it's often found in those quiet, real moments we've overlooked our whole lives, maybe. Like waking up after a good night's sleep, feeling no pain, having the energy to do the things you want to do. It sounds simple, but it's actually huge from my perspective, anyway.
Maybe that's something that we can all take with us, even if you haven't gone through deep grief.
Mm.
Just pausing once in a while and asking what actually makes me feel alive and content. What moments make me breathe a little deeper or just being more present.
It's fascinating, isn't it? We tend to think everything will last forever, and because of that, we don't really appreciate those small everyday moments until life hits us hard. I don't know, maybe that's just how we humans are wired.
That's true. And strange too when you think about it. We're only here for a short time, and I don't really want to think about that actually.
Yeah,
I don't like
I
to think about that.
no, I think most of us don't like to think that way. But it is true. And whether you're going through something difficult or not, that truth doesn't change.
And maybe that's why it hits me now that happiness becomes such an important topic after you've been through grief. Because when you're grieving, it can almost feel wrong to talk about happiness at all.
Yeah, it can be like you're maybe scared people will think you've moved on too fast or that you've forgotten. But it's not about forgetting, it's about letting joy back in, allowing yourself those small pockets of light again.
So happiness becomes a kind of healing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Not pretending that the pain is gone, but giving yourself permission to feel something good again, to have a good life despite everything that has happened.
Yeah, because happiness doesn't cancel out grief, they can exist side by side. You can miss someone with your whole heart and still have moments of laughter, beauty, even amazement. But you do have to make a conscious choice to let those moments in, to allow yourself to be a little more open to joy day by day. It's
Hmm.
absolutely possible.
Yeah, I guess that is true. And I think that's really where hope lives, and realizing that even after loss, life can still hold joy. Maybe just a different type of joy, softer, but still joy. And like you said, it starts with making a choice to let it in.
Mm.
So, when you asked me earlier when I was last truly happy, I'm still thinking of the perfect answer, actually. Um, but what about you? Since you asked me the question, I'm sure you have something on your mind already.
I actually do. Since I asked you the question and we decided on the topic, I've been thinking about it myself. Of course, I have. What does truly happy even look like for me? And
Yeah.
of course, there are those big moments, or the political correct answer, maybe, like you said, when my kids were born, the day I married my husband, or the first time I felt love again after all the grief and loss, those big things in my life. And,
Mhm.
you know, also those moments when I see my boys or my loved ones laughing or just being happy. That's pure happiness right there, seeing others being happy.
Yeah, I think most of us can relate to that.
Yeah. But the first thing that came to mind wasn't one of those big milestones. And since the question was the last time I remember being truly happy, it was actually just a few months ago. But honestly, I have to say almost every single morning counts too when I wake up and know I'm about to have my first cup of coffee. I know I keep repeating this, but I genuinely look forward to that. I love quiet mornings. That little pocket of peace before the day really starts, it honestly makes me happy. Hedonic happy, maybe. But okay, that's kind of a boring answer. So,
Yeah, it is a boring answer because now we were talking about that deep happiness that you can truly feel inside, other than a cup of coffee.
I'm getting
Or
to
yeah,
it. Yeah,
tell us now.
I will give you something a little
Yeah,
more interesting,
please.
a different kind of happiness. You know,
Mhm.
the quiet, deep kind, or maybe more like awe, you know, that English word, awe,
Mhm.
awe.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, I've never really found a proper Norwegian translation for it, but we
Hmm,
will come back to that later.
okay.
So, the story that came to mind was this. Earlier this year, my boyfriend and I went up to mid Norway, I could say, Ålesund, for an eagle safari. We both love
Mhm.
eagles, and since he's a really skilled photographer, it was the perfect trip for us. The chance to get close to these majestic birds, see them in their natural element, and hopefully capture some amazing action shots. But it turned out to be so much more than just that.
Yeah, I remember you told me about that, but not the full story. I mean, I've seen pictures and wow, it
Mm.
looked really amazing. He is so good at taking pictures, by the way. So I can understand that he was excited about this trip. And I think that's a perfect example of pure happiness right there. I think I could tell from the photos. I mean, your
Mm.
faces.
Yeah,
Says it all.
it really was. Honestly, one of the most magical experiences I've ever had, truly. And for me, it was the perfect getaway and actually the perfect example of what pure happiness can feel like. So
Mhm.
the story is the owner of this company. He took us out on his boat, and it was only the three of us. And you also know we had to cancel this trip a couple of times because of my boyfriend's health.
Yeah.
So he knew a bit about our story and all that. When we finally got there, he greeted us with this openness and kindness that you could just feel. There was something, I don't know, instantly genuine about him, like he really saw us in a way. And I mean, just when we started talking to him, I teared up straight away. So that's kind of telling.
Hmm. Some people just has that aura around them, don't they?
Mm.
So then you can say that it was kind of like a special moment from the start then?
It really was. I mean, you could just sense it. This man, he had this calm, grounded energy, as I said, you know, the kind that instantly make you feel safe and seen. And you could just tell he truly loved what he did and he truly cared about us too. So the good feeling started right away, even before we left the dock.
It's incredible how some people just have that. I mean, this quiet presence. You don't even need to talk much. You just feel it when you feel comfortable around someone.
Mm.
It's like their energy kind of sets the tone for the whole experience.
Exactly. It's just amazing. I love meetings like this.
Yeah, me too. Or people like this.
Yeah. But okay, so here's the thing. He had been feeding the seagulls in that area for years. So as soon as we left the marina, they came flying towards us like a welcoming committee. They followed us the whole way, circling above and beside the boat. And I mean, it was unbelievable. He had completely earned their trust in a way.
So it's almost like he trained them, would you say?
Kind of, but it wasn't training, it was connection. They just knew him and trusted him in a way. And we even get to hand feed them with dog pellets, actually, dog food. And they were so gentle, just picking the pellets right from between our fingers. A few of them even landed in our hands, and some of them actually landed on the man's head. One at a time, though. I have pictures.
Yeah, I've seen those pictures. And wow, it's like something out of a Disney movie. The
Yeah,
man on the boat with the birds surrounding him.
it really was. There was
Mhm.
something almost sacred about it. You know, the sea, the sound of seagulls, the calm way he spoke to them. Just pure magic. You can say Disney magic.
Mhm.
And you know, seagulls don't exactly have the best reputation. Usually, they're those loud, annoying, nagging birds that steal your food on the beach.
Yes, that is very true.
Mhm.
Remember Miami Beach?
Yes, who can forget?
You and I finally sat down with our lunch, and then suddenly we were under attack, like a seagull army attack.
Yep.
I mean, they stole our food mid bite,
Oh my
like I
God.
think
Yeah,
out of my actual mouth.
that was chaos.
Yeah, it was.
But that's what made this so surreal. You know, I never imagined I could have a spiritual moment with seagulls.
Yeah,
We were there for the eagles, right? To feed these big, beautiful birds and take photos. But it turned into so much more. I mean, the seagulls ended up being a huge part of it. It was kind of like they reminded me that beauty really can show up in the most unexpected places, you know? I mean, seagulls.
yeah. Who would have thought? But yes, back to the eagles, the kings of the air, I feel like I can say. Tell us more about them if
Right,
they showed
right.
up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So then, of course, suddenly this first eagle couple appeared above us, and we all just went quiet. It was so powerful. Eagles carry something really special for me, for both of us, actually. And I can say all three of us. You know, they're strong, graceful, and free. So it was just incredible.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, you're out there on a boat surrounded by nature and completely present. I mean, that kind of happiness goes really deep.
Yeah. And it wasn't the kind of happiness where you're laughing or jumping around. It was this deep wave of peace, gratitude, and awe. And it meant so much because of my boyfriend, too, you know, with his illness, just being able to go on this trip together, seeing him so happy, taking all those beautiful photos. It just made my heart grow.
Yeah, of course. That is really touching. And those kinds of moments just mean so much more now, probably. You can't take these things for granted anymore. And
It's true.
yeah. And it's interesting how happiness is tied to connection. I mean, like the Harvard study concluded, but it's not just with people, but with nature too, and experiences.
Totally. And like we talked about before, research actually shows that being in nature can change your brain chemistry. It lowers cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and it can increase things like serotonin and dopamine, the feel good chemicals. So it's not just a nice idea, it's real science.
So, happiness is basically just a hike, calm people, and some eagles or seagulls away.
Pretty much. But honestly, for me, nature just quiets everything else. No phone, no noise, just presence.
Yeah.
And you know, connections, meeting new people. Sometimes you meet people, strangers even, who radiates something really special. And as I said, this man who took us out, he had such kind eyes, such an open face. You could just feel how much he cared for everything and everyone around him. Also, those birds. I mean, he thanked every eagle that came down to take a fish from the water and the seagulls too. It was just amazing.
Mm. I think we have to post one of these pictures for the episode on our
Yeah,
Instagram,
I think so
just
too.
so people can actually see that picture with the birds on his head.
Share the moment.
Because it was beautiful, like a little gratitude ritual.
Yeah, exactly. It was such a lesson in respect also for life, for nature, for every small thing we share this planet with. And I think that's what made me so fulfilled and happy. It wasn't just about seeing the eagles, it was everything around it: the kindness, the stillness, the presence, the connection, and that shared joy. And we actually laughed about it the next day because I told my boyfriend my cheeks really hurt, and he said mine too, from all the smiling, you know. And that just says it all, doesn't it?
Hmm. It really does. And that is the best kind of happiness,
Indeed.
feeling your cheeks hurt from smiling.
Mhm. And it made me think maybe happiness isn't something we chase or create. Maybe it's something that finds us when we're open enough to notice it, wherever we are or what state we're in.
I love that. And you know what? That's exactly what research says too. The more we chase happiness directly, the less we feel it.
Hmm.
But when we focus on connection, kindness, and presence, happiness becomes a side effect.
Happiness as a side effect. I love that. I think we have the title for this episode right there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Good idea. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
And yeah, I have to say, while I was doing research for this episode, I came across something Jimmy Carr said. Not science, but words of wisdom, you can say. And it totally fits in with what you said there about the research. He points out that expectations can actually burn happiness, and that real joy comes from enjoying the process, not just chasing the result. It's like, or he said, expectations exceeded is where happiness lives. And for me, that basically says that happiness often shows up in the gap between what you expected and what actually happened. If reality turns out a little better than you thought, that's where the joy sneaks in.
Just to be clear, is that Jimmy Carr, the comedian you're talking about?
Yeah, that's him. I guess
Hmm.
most people know him for his stand up and sharp humor,
Yeah.
if people have heard of him at all.
Hmm.
But he also made some really interesting comments about life and happiness. And I thought it fit perfectly with what we've been talking about, how chasing the high of happiness can sometimes backfire in a way. And the real magic is in noticing the little moments, the process itself.
Yeah, I see. So it's not just funny jokes, he's actually reflecting on life a bit too.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And I mean, he is right. Totally. I feel like that's a good reminder for all of us.
It is. And I think it ties perfectly into our whole idea today because happiness isn't just the big milestones or the perfect moments. It's in awe, in connection, in the small sparks, and yes, even in the unexpected joys that come when we stop overthinking and just live it.
Yeah. And those little sparks, those small moments, that's the glitter we can spread.
So now it's your turn. Tell me, when were you last 100% happy?
Well, after hearing yours, I feel like mine are a bit more classic because my number one happiness, that's an easy one. And I know I said it before, but honestly, Being a mom, I've been so lucky to have 3 kids, and they're absolutely the most important people in my life. I feel like my heart grows 3 times
Yeah.
thinking about them. I just saw The Grinch, so that's why I said that. Because they say that his heart grows when he gets happy. Um, but yeah, they're my biggest source of happiness, no question. When I see them, laugh or smile or just look content, I just get really happy. It's that deep, wordless kind of joy that just fills you up. It sounds cheesy and all that, I know, but I have to say it because it is true.
No, it's beautiful.
Yeah. But if I think of another moment like recently, I think I can also say seeing our sweet grandmother back in her apartment, back to her routines and everyday life at 91. I just talked to them on the phone today. Then she's out grocery shopping and she said, "Well, we have to hang up. I can't talk to you now."
This is
Yeah, that is that makes me happy too, even though I had to hang up. She doesn't want to talk to me. But she just really amazes and inspires me. And she's something else, bless her. So after leaving Norway, after spending some real quality time with all you people I love, that's definitely at the top of my recent happiness list. Having dinner and laughs with my friends, alone time with my mom. I think also because I don't get to do that very often anymore since I moved away. So that warms my heart,
Mm.
you know, a lot.
Yeah, of course.
But then also flying back home to my people and my core family that misses me. I always say my core family.
Of course, and that's real pure happiness right there, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It really reminds you of how blessed we truly are. Just the fact that we can do that, get on a
Yeah.
plane, fly across the Atlantic, and spend time with the people we love, even if it's just for a short visit.
Yeah. I feel very blessed to be able to do that or that I could do that in the moments. And honestly, also, though, I think it was good for my kids and my husband that I went away for a bit because I'm always here.
Mm.
So maybe it brought them a little happiness when I came back. So a
Mm.
little break probably made them realize how tough life gets when the team and manager is not there.
Yeah, totally. I bet they appreciate you even more now.
Yeah, I hope so. But I also have to tell you, I was so excited when I landed in Oslo and I realized that my flight had been rebooked to a later flight because I landed late. And when we're talking about that excitement or happiness feelings that makes you jittery inside, I was actually so excited because that meant that I could actually visit or surprise my oldest daughter who lives in Oslo. And I knew that she was at work, so I took the train into the city. And I was stressing on the train to turn off my location because, everyone can see your locations these days. So I actually ended up turning my phone off in the stress because I didn't want her to know that I was going to surprise her. So, anyways, I walked off this train and I walked up to her workplace and I knocked on the window. And luckily, she was standing right there. So, just that knock and seeing her face turned towards me, it was, yeah, that made me really happy. I
Mm.
could see that she was so surprised. And the store hadn't even opened yet, so her boss let her have a 30-minute break just to hang out with me. So that was really nice. A short, but one of the happiest moments lately, I should say.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Mm. A moment of surprise and pure joy. You two are the cutest.
Yeah, totally. But anyways, I took the train back to the airport, made my new flight, and went to see our grandmother, which is what I came for. And later. seeing all you guys and all my other loved ones in Norway.
Mm.
So I feel like I can say what started as a sad trip or a necessary trip due to illness ended up being such a happy one.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Mm.
It's actually quite amazing. I love this topic. Talking about these happy moments make me warm inside, I must say, and happy and
Yeah.
thankful.
Good. And I agree. This conversation definitely brings out some gratitude and happiness for sure. And I hope our listeners agree to this also.
Hopefully.
But, just to drag us all down a bit again. But this is actually kind of funny because I read an article recently that said that happiness kind of goes in a U shape throughout life. And apparently, people in their 40s are statistically the least happy. I mean, that's us right now.
Yeah, I've heard about that one.
But I'm sure that doesn't count for us, or at least us Norwegians, or you living in Norway, because it also said that people living in the Nordic countries consistently rank among the happiest in the world. And the reasons for that are pretty interesting, but also make sense for me.
Mm.
And those are because you have a strong social support system, you have high trust in institutions, you have good work life balance, and equal access to healthcare and education. Things that I think that we talked about here before, and we're lucky to have that in Norway among one of the Nordic countries.
Yeah, we definitely talked about that, and I can totally see what it means, or I get it. And again, I am happy to live in Norway.
Mm.
But what I find even more interesting is how big people tend to think when it comes to happiness. Like when you ask someone, when were you last 100% happy or pure happy? You'd think they could just answer straight up, right?
Yeah.
But most people can't, like we've talked about today. I've actually asked around a bit lately, and almost everyone needed to stop and really think. Some even said they couldn't remember the last time, and that honestly made me a little sad.
Yeah. But do you think that's because they are like we are overthinkers, that it's not just that hedonic happiness you're searching for them because they're looking for something deeper? Maybe that is what it is. And
Maybe it has to be kind of this big and grand things. I don't know.
hmm, in that sense, it's kind of hard to answer.
Mm,
Maybe.
yeah, I can relate. But what I noticed was that younger people answered much faster. They could name something from just a few days ago or, small things. And parents with kids often tied their happiness to their kids, which is totally understandable and relatable also. And older people talked about small things again, like recent visits from family or friends, for instance. But the interesting thing was that happiness was related to connections for all of them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I asked a bit around myself and I asked my family. And my son said going to the trampoline park today with my friends because I asked him on Sunday. So he went there with his friends. So that was his happiness, going with his besties.
Uh,
So I guess that is a typical answer, like we talked about. But then when I asked my husband, he, of course, said right away, "You are the one that makes me the most happy,"
oh.
just because he thinks that that's what I want to hear, or that he's gonna get lucky or something. I don't know. Erase that. But I said, no, just answer properly. What, like, recently made you really happy?
Mm.
And he said, watching his team where he works, Inter Miami, because they won on Saturday. And I
Yeah,
can,
of course.
yeah, I can really hear that. That makes him happy too, because he gets really loud. So yeah, but they made it to the finals for the first time ever on
Wow.
Saturday.
Hmm.
Yeah. in MLS history. So exciting. So now they're going or playing a game again on Saturday. So then happiness is coming up again, hopefully for him. I
Yeah.
should say. What if they lose? I didn't even take that into consideration. Oh no, we'll see.
Yeah.
To be continued.
Fingers crossed
But yeah,
they win.
that's because soccer is his passion. Plus, it's his job too. So, yeah, that was his answer.
Well, then I have to say, just because of the contrast, my boyfriend's answer to this was something that really stuck with me, because he told me that for him, happiness is just days without pain, quiet, peaceful days, watching a good TV show together, or just being able to go out with his new boat or take a drive. Simple things. I mean, even being able to take out the trash himself.
Yeah.
Normal things we all take for granted.
Hmm.
And I know for sure that his answer would be kind of the same when he wasn't sick, really. If I ask him what happiness looked like for him, I mean,
Yeah.
some people see their glass half full, not half empty, whatever the circumstances. He just
Hmm.
has this positive mindset, and I must say that is truly inspiring. I know I keep bringing him up, but he's just a special one.
Yeah. That really is inspiring, to be able to look at the world like that, see the glass half full, not half empty. And it's not
Yeah.
everyone that can do that. And that is probably also a very good thing. I mean, when you're going through everything he's going through, that he can manage to stay positive. I'm sure that helps him in many ways.
Yeah.
And yeah, he
And
is,
us around him too.
yeah, for sure. So he is a special one.
But winning a soccer game is also important and brings out happiness.
I think that's more of like a instant happiness there and then, if you get that question.
Yeah.
So,
Valuable reminder for all of us that
mm,
happiness doesn't have to be loud or extraordinary,
yeah.
but it also can be. But
Mm.
sometimes it's just calm, just presence. And maybe that's something we forget too easily when life gets busy or stressful.
Because we tend to think happiness has to be this big moment like fireworks and confetti, but often it's more like a quiet hum in the background. You just have to tune in to hear it.
Yeah, and maybe that's the trick, really, to notice it while it's happening instead of realizing it later. Because those peaceful, ordinary moments, they might actually be the purest form of happiness there is.
I love that. And it fits perfectly with what we've been talking about. Awe, presence, and gratitude. They all kind of blend into the same feeling when you think about it.
Exactly. Different paths, same place, happiness. So earlier we touched on this word, awe, and I've been thinking about it since, because there is really no exact translation in Norwegian, is there?
Hmm. No, I don't think there is actually. Like the closest would probably be ærefrykt, but that has a slightly different meaning. It's more like reverence or even fear, like when you stand in front of something powerful and almost sacred. It's not quite that soft, heart opening feeling that awe can be, I feel like.
Yeah. Awe has this mix of wonder, surprise, humility, like you're part of something bigger. And the Norwegian word ærefrykt has a sense of fear in it, so it doesn't quite fit. And I had a little aha moment about this earlier this year when I heard Dr. Keltner on the podcast Feel Better, Live More. And as I said before, I highly recommend that podcast, by the way. It's so interesting. But yeah, I haven't really thought about awe as a thing before, as an important part of our lives in a way. So Dr. Keltner was the guest in the podcast, and he's a psychologist and researcher who has studied awe for years. And he described it as the feeling of being in the presence of something vast that transcends your understanding of the world. I mean, wow, isn't that beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
So deep and poetic again. It was such an interesting conversation, I have to say.
Yeah, that is such a beautiful definition. So it's not just about being impressed, it's that feeling when something takes your breath away a little, right?
Yeah, exactly that. It's like that feeling of your heart opens and you suddenly see things more clearly. And I realized that's exactly what I felt on that eagle safari we talked about earlier, my story about
Mm.
happiness,
Yeah.
because it wasn't just happiness, it was this deep sense of connection and wonder, like the world stopped for a second. So, was that happiness or awe? I don't know. And it doesn't matter either. For me, it was a true happy moment, anyhow.
Sounds like an awe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But that's interesting though, because it sounds like awe might actually be a form of happiness, just deeper. So more grounded, if we can use that word.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And Dr. Keltner talks about how awe can actually change us biologically. And I know we love to talk about these things, or I do at least, but it lowers cortisol, slows our heart rate, and makes us feel more connected to others and to nature. So it's not just feeling good, it's like your whole system calms down. And that's what I felt out there: total stillness, gratitude, and peace. A meditational feeling, kind of.
Wow. I just have to say again, it's funny how the older we get, the more we realize that happiness doesn't always come from excitement, but from those quiet moments where everything just makes sense. The calm, like standing in nature, watching the sky change color, or hearing someone laugh in a way that hits you in the heart, when you just have to laugh because other people laugh.
Yeah. And maybe that's the beauty of awe. It sneaks up on you. You can't really plan it or chase it. You just have to be open enough to notice it when it happens. I think that's the key here.
I love that. And I also must say now, thinking about it, I love what you said about there not being a perfect Norwegian word for it, because maybe that's part of the charm. Maybe it's something that we should feel, not label.
Yeah, exactly. We could call it forundring, which means wonder, or ærefrykt, as you said, kind of like reverent fear, or maybe å bli overveldet av undring, to be overwhelmed by wonder. But honestly, none of those really capture it fully. And maybe that's okay, because I agree. Awe is something that goes beyond words anyway.
So, for everyone listening, maybe today's little challenge is to look for those tiny moments of awe, that split second where you feel small but connected, where the world feels huge, but you're a part of it.
Because those moments, that's where happiness often hides. It's not in the big milestones, it's in the quiet, breathtaking pauses.
Beautifully said. So, I think we can say that happiness isn't about chasing joy at all, but about noticing wonder.
Exactly. That's my kind of happiness.
So, maybe our takeaway is this: happiness isn't always about achieving something or reaching a milestone. Sometimes it's about letting yourself be moved, letting yourself feel awe, and letting that feeling shift the way you see your life.
So, honestly, when you put all of this together, the contrast, the little sparks, the awe, the heavy days, and the lighter ones, that's when happiness starts to make sense. Not as some big achievement, but as a collection of moments that slowly adds up in a way. And it reminds me again of that scene in Afterlife. I just have to mention that one. That scene stayed with me for a reason, because happiness isn't just about yourself. And I feel like this is important when we talk about happiness, because it's also what we do for others. And also those bigger things we do that affect others, sometimes in ways that even outlives us, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I haven't watched that show, but I still feel like I know that scene, the older woman in the cemetery talking about happiness. I mean, I feel like I've seen it on my Instagram or a reel about it.
Yeah, of course. It's that one.
Maybe you
Um,
sent it to me.
I guess I
I don't
guess I
know.
did.
I know I've seen
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
because happiness isn't just about feeling good yourself. It's about noticing goodness in others and sometimes even creating it for them. I mean, when you do things for someone else, even tiny things, it creates this subtle happiness that lingers. And that's something we all can do also every day. It doesn't have to be big.
I guess that ties down to everything that we talked about as well, awe, connection, presence, meaning. Happiness isn't always loud or immediate. Sometimes it's quiet, ripple like traveling beyond us.
Yeah. And grief really changes how you see that. Because after loss, you notice in a deep way how your kindness and actions matter long after you're gone. And of course, I'm thinking about my husband also now.
Hmm.
Um, and you also start thinking more about the shade you're planting for someone else, as she says in that scene.
Yeah. Maybe happiness shifts from what do I get to what can I give? And that shift, that's where real meaning often hides.
Yeah, and I also have to say, the stories we tell ourselves, that's where the real power is. It's a self fulfilling truth. If I tell myself I can't be happy without X, then I won't be. But if I choose, I can find happiness today, even in small ways. It shows up, little sparks, moments of awe, even acts of kindness, if you know what I mean.
Hmm. And that's the truth we keep reminding ourselves. Happiness isn't something that lands on us by chance. It's something that we have to nurture, create, and share.
Yeah, because it just came to mind that after my husband died, I thought I couldn't be 100% happy after if I ended up alone. I told myself I couldn't maybe reach 99%, you know,
Yeah.
alone on my own.
Hmm.
But over time, I realized the truth we feed ourselves with that becomes real in a way because we have to choose happiness regardless. And of course, I was lucky to find love again, and I'm forever grateful for that.
Mhm.
But even without it, the choice to see joy in life, that choice is ours.
Yeah, I understand that must be hard though. But in that choice, happiness becomes expansive. I mean, less about me and more about us, less about now and more about the ripples that we create, the quiet acts, the kindness, the awe, all of it builds a life that matters for us and for others, for people around us.
Yeah, I guess that sums it up again.
Mm.
So, to everyone listening, please notice the happiness around you. Savor it and share it. Spread it like glitter, as you said. And even small acts ripple out in ways you'll never maybe fully see yourself. Make someone else feel better, build connections. That's the real joy.
Yeah. Let's make more room for that kind of happiness for ourselves, for each other, and for the world.
And let's end with the afterlife scene because honestly, nothing sums this up better.
Okay, let me read it. Happiness is amazing. It's so amazing, it doesn't matter if it's yours or not. A society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they'll never sit in. Good people do things for other people. Period.
That's it. The end.
Nina had a dream, all black and white. We were talking in English, yeah, that ain't right. Two Norwegian sisters miles apart, but that dream lit a fire, put a mic to the heart. Katrine's in the States, Nina's back home. Two voices, one mission through the microphone. Grief in life, the highs and the lows. We hit record, uh-oh, where the file go? Oh, we fumble, we stumble, but baby we shine. Lost the intro, never mind. Wi-Fi shaky, cables crossed, but our hearts stay strong, no moment lost. From a dream to the mic, now the world can hear. Two sisters telling truths with a laugh and a tear. We live, we learn, we sip, we sigh. Talking love, talking lost, let the echoes fly. Grief walks in, pulls up a chair, says I'll stay a while, yeah, life ain't fair. But we mix it with laughter, a toast in hand, finding light where the dark still stands. Ba-da-da-boo-doo, is this thing on? Mic's on mute, oh well, move along. Ba-ba-dee, ba-ba-da, take two. Oops, too late, let's laugh it through. From a dream to the mic, now the world can hear. Two sisters telling truths with a laugh and a tear. We live, we learn, we sip, we sigh. Talking love, talking lost, let the echoes fly. So plug in, lean in, let's take our time. No script, no filters, just rhythm and rhyme. We're here, we're now, we're in our prime. Two sisters, one dream, on the mic.